think of them as tools almost exclusively. A way to just get ideas out. I think in words, but I also think in images. And I think I'm much more interested in how I think in images than how I think in words, and the drawing is a way of getting those images out. And I think it's rare that drawings actually do something. Like, I confine myself mostly to just doing things in black and white and sort of small scale. And I think that means that they will almost never do something on their own, except maybe make thoughts or capture relationships. All my artwork is always about making something happen. And that's why I see these as like a step towards something else for the most part. I think they can make something happen in the viewer's imagination, which is cool. I was invited to do a project at Socrates Sculpture Park. Socrates is a landfill, and so the proposal was to dig out the landfill so that I could make a seating area and then display what I found in the walls of the what I was calling it a temporary ground museum. And so the temporary ground museum would display the junk that I found in the walls from the landfill. And then there would be a sump pump because it would probably be wet, and it would come out and it would be expelled by a pissing cupid. So it would come out there. So that was my proposal, which they oddly liked and they wanted me to make, but it didn't make any sense at Socrates because it's a landfill, but it's mostly just building rubble. And it's all brick and concrete and stuff like that, and it's really wet, so it wouldn't just need one pissing cupid, it would need hundreds. And I thought more about the park, where there already is a really good sense of community, so it's sort of redundant for me to try to make a place of community there. So I started thinking about the opposite. I started thinking about really solitary things in the park. And I thought of this drawing, which was one of the bed drawings, and I thought of making a really kind of sterile and intimate place in this park, which is kind of rough. Yeah, this is the last of that series, and then this was the more realistic one that I used. I used a cleaned up version of this that I have nearby to solicit really good bedding and a mattress for this project, and also to get the park to agree to do it. And then this is the final project. I like my drawings, even though I rarely have showed them. I just enjoy them, and so there's something gratifying about just sitting down and being able to produce something in just a short amount of time that I can't get from my sculpture. And I don't have the money to produce often, or the time. And I can also put down all of my ideas and then edit them later, because when I get an idea, I always think it's great when I'm in the middle of it, and then so I draw it out, and then I only lose half an hour when I say it's terrible later. And I can edit later and find the ones that are good in the mix.
And what draws me to want to touch something and mark something and make, like, all mark making for me has this huge connotation of drawing, of putting something down, of branding and scoring and threading and striking and scorching, and that they're all under the big umbrella of what it is to draw, to make a mark. I began with thread, and it had to do with this sense of going in something and out something. So there's the space and the ground, the space and the ground, and there's this interaction that goes on. And I went from there to human hair, and then fire. All of them have a connectedness for me in terms of using ritual, in terms of creating my own ritual. And then the fire led to the knife work, and then I was back and forth with the fire and the knife. There's mind over matter. We have God in the picture. Attract, which is another word for draw, actually. Then I have dare you, and the truth will, and then it goes off somewhere because will set you free will be somewhere else. Yeah, I think everything I do beyond painting and sculpting and building is drawing. So I wrote, drawing for me is about charting and tracking, branding, marking, burning, scorching, scoring, blading, wiring, cutting, threading, weaving, making some mark in all the ways that I described. You can't reverse it like you can with painting. I can't go over it afterwards. And so there's a certain sense of surrender and play and danger, and there's something liberating about it. I mean, I'm making these quick decisions. I also have to be alert. I've burned more things in not a good way than I've maybe cut myself, or cut things that then I've eventually tossed or something. But there's something about the accident at play as a result. So there's a certain amount of control, but then there's also not control. In the drawing, there's more control with the works because most of them are done with incense sticks. But my drawings in space are done where fire is let loose on paper and wire, and I have to have water close by, and I do this fire and stomp method where I have a lot of shoes around me that have to get the fire out, and I have been known to be a fire hazard. I guess I just have a very wide approach.